Okay, it's the first video of the year. Carlos isn't back yet. My shirt's shrunk in the wash. We're doing great. No, it's fine, guys. It's fine. We're starting off. It's Oscar season, so we're starting off strong. We're starting with Spider-Man. So, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Ordinary Critics. Today we will be reviewing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't. What? I don't. What the? Hello everyone! Welcome back to another episode of The Ordinary Critics. I am Isaac.
And I'm Carlos, and we're just two ordinary guys reviewing extraordinary movies.
We have been on hiatus for a couple months now, just gathering our thoughts and relaxing, but it's Oscar season.
It's Oscar season! Oscar season, go crazy! Ho, 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 ho.
And Carlos is back!
Yeah, Carlos is back with facial hair.
With facial hair. It's fantastic, and I'm jealous. So, we are going to attempt to review every best nominated movie, and that includes animated stuff. So we're going Spider-Man today.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. I'm really happy.
It's incredible. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. There is a reason that it was nominated for Best Animated Feature.
Yeah, and some people actually wanted it to be nominated for Best Picture, actually. It's that good.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
Actually, I just want to say, like, Best Animated Picture this year, it's actually really, really good.
I actually don't know any of the other ones. I'm an awful human
being. They have I Love Dogs. They have Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah.
They have Spider-Man, like, Into the Spider-Verse. They have really good movies, so it's a really good year for animated picture.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, from here on out, there will be spoilers. So, if you haven't gone and seen this movie yet,
go. Do it now.
What do you think?
This is one of those movies. Like, jump to another alternate universe and go watch it.
Alright, we warned you. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1, let's go! So, for our first-time viewers, you know, it's been a while, so we review 5 different categories and then give you a report card at the end of it. We reviewed the plot, the cast, continuity and immersion, the soundtrack, and then cinematography. Haven't missed a beat.
I just mouthed everything you just said.
We're doing great. We're doing great. Can you tell we haven't been in the same room for a while?
Yeah.
So, here we go. We're going to start with the plot. The plot of this movie is fantastic.
It's amazing. It's all about Miles Morales, the Afro-Puerto Rican Spider-Man, and how he gets his powers. But it's an alternate storyline, which includes like Spider-Men, different Spider-Men, Spider people, coming from all alternate universes and helping him come into his new powers and deal with the grief of his loss, and with this and deal with Fisk and his collider, and that is about to threaten all of Manhattan, as always.
Super general plotline. Spider-Man dies. Miles Morales takes over. This super collider thing that Fisk is using to try to bring back his wife and his son. If they use it one more time, a black hole will form in Brooklyn and just consume everything. So he uses it once, and that's when Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, Peter B. Parker, and Penny Parker. She's badass.
She is.
All come in, and they're like, how did we get here? And it opened up this time portal, and they start like glitching out because they have to get back to their regular universes.
Mm-hmm. And they don't belong in that world. So every time they glitch out, it's because their molecules are just not adjusted into the Miles Morales reality.
It's literally ripping them apart,
yeah.
Molecule by molecule. So then all of them come together. They help Miles get his figure out his powers that he's going, all the stuff he's going through. And then they go take on Fisk.
Yeah.
And it is an epic battle.
Oh, so good. So trippy.
So trippy.
Oh.
The animation, we'll talk about this later on, but the animation in this was
spectacular.
Top notch. So, yeah, that's the general plot. And it's incredible.
It's good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Literally,
Go
words Words don't do it justice.
It's touching. It's funny.
Yep.
It has great dialogue.
Yep. It's dark too.
That too.
Like,
yes.
I think it's rated PG. I think it needed the PG-13 stamp of approval on this thing.
Debatable.
Well, there were a couple moments I was just sitting there like, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
So, especially the death of Peter Parker, like the first Spider-Man.
Yeah, that hurts.
It's in the first like 10 minutes of the movie. It is brutal.
Yeah, honestly, as a fan of Spider-Man, that hurts. Like my mouth was agape. Just like
I was just like, oh,
they just kill off Peter Parker. It was
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on to the cast. This thing is so star-studded that I literally need to read a list.
Let's look at the list right now.
All right, so we have Shameik Moore as Miles Morales. We have Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker. Hailee Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. Mahershala Ali as Uncle Aaron / the Prowler. Another spoiler for you. Zoe Kravitz as Mary Jane. John Mulaney as Spider-Ham. Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker. Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. Leiv Schreiber as Carl? Is it Carl? What's his first name?
Fisk?
I just have Fisk.
I actually don't. Just say Fisk. Just call him Kingpin. How about we just call him Kingpin?
Leiv Schreiber as Kingpin. And Chris Pine as the original Peter Parker.
Is that Wilson Fisk?
Wilson Fisk. That's his name. Carl Fisk. Who's Carl?
I
was going to say Carl thing. Sorry, Carl dance.
Yeah. Don't imagine Fisk doing that. That'd be hilarious.
And he's so like disproportionate in
Yeah,
this thing.
not unusual.
Anyway, this cast is some phenomenal voice actors. Jake Johnson, Shameik Moore, and John Mulaney are some standouts in this thing, and they are hilarious.
They are hilarious, yes. They make the dialogue is just so good. They really bring it to life, and they bring these characters to life with their energy, and it's so interesting. Oh man, I just want to watch it again. Can we go watch it again?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're actually going to go after this if anyone wants to join us. Even when you view it, we'll still be there.
We'll still be there.
You're
Yeah,
watching
like
it for the
3 times.
17th time. It's fine. But yeah, the cast, it was perfect. Just the way that they all these spider people come from different universes. So each one of them is a very, very different style of acting and different style of talking and their speech patterns and stuff. But they all just had this chemistry about them where it's like at the beginning they're like, where am I? What is happening? I'm in a different universe. And then they all kind of come together, and it just feels like they belong together. And it's amazing.
It never quite stands out as it doesn't belong in this reality. It's like funny, but it's still rooted in like really it's grounded still.
Yeah,
it still feels real. So it's pretty sweet.
That's great. Next up, we have continuity and immersion.
It was amazing. I was immersed. I was definitely immersed in the story.
Absolutely. And the thing that they did very well, they didn't just take 5 separate stories and mesh them all together, and it wasn't very complicated. It was like they took the Miles Morales universe in this animated feature and picked and chose these characters to pop into it. They gave a little bit of their backstory, but they didn't make it super complicated. Like how it could have gone with a multiverse movie.
Yeah, no, and the good thing is that they all came at a certain point in their stories in which they needed something. They all learned and took something away from coming into Miles's universe.
Yes.
And they took their own lesson, like Spider-Gwen, how to make friends. You know, she's been a loner. She's like, maybe it's time to like have friends again. Peter B. Parker learns that he should try again, you know.
Never give up.
To like move on to like the next step and not be like so hung up on himself. So it's so they all took something with it. Like Spider Noir took a Rubik's cube.
He was gonna get it.
He did get it.
He did get it.
Yeah.
So Carlos, you had one thing in particular with Miles' story that kind of, to the casual Spider-Man fan, kind of like threw you off, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you know the story, they have to integrate the spider people into the story, and they're the ones in this movie. They're the ones that train Miles, basically. I mean, it's been more Peter B. Parker, but they usually in the story, what happens is that without the Spider-Man, it's that the Prowler is the one that trains Miles actually, and he gets like duped, and then there's like a battle when he finds out, when Miles finds out, and that he's being like manipulated, so it turns to a whole thing. So I just like, so that might, if you know the story, that might take you a little bit out for a second. You might be like, oh wait, that's not the way he learns. So if you know the story, it might pop you out a little bit, but otherwise, they still give like a very awesome alternate story, which is amazing.
So the complete opposite side of that, I know very little about Miles going into this. So when the Prowler was introduced, I was like, who is this guy? Where does he come from? I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I have never seen this guy. So it's finding that like in between sweet spot of like, okay, I know who this is, but like the story isn't directly impacted by changing that one thing.
Exactly, and it's not, if you don't know the story, you will eat it up. But if you know and you read the comics, then you're gonna be a little bit like yeah.
Cool. Next up, we have soundtrack.
Oh,
this soundtrack. Outro, Steven. But the music it's just straight up fire. I actually go to the gym and I lift to this soundtrack just because it's so pump up, action heavy, but then there's also the sweet tender moments in it too.
Yeah, and it also develops the plot. Like that song that we were just like messing around with is actually what Miles Morales does to relax, and what he needs to do to like
control his
powers at a certain point. So
hilarious.
Yeah, so it's not just like not only used for comedy, not only used for action or background, it's also develops a plot.
Yeah, it pushes it forward, it keeps it moving. Like Carlos just said, it's not just background music to like enhance the scenes, it's actually used as a plot device to keep pushing this stuff forward.
So I thought it was a marvelous use of music and the soundtrack. So
Killer. Killer. And finally, we have cinematography. They came at us with a very unique challenge. So having these different Spider people come from these different universes, you have Gwen Stacy, who is in the same artistic style as Miles
and Peter B.
Parker. And then you had Spider-Man Noir, who was it's
film noir
style,
black and white, narrating all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you had Spider-Ham, which is straight up cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like think of like Acme and like Looney Tunes almost.
Yeah, and you have Penny Parker, which is anime.
So a lot of people that we've talked to before seeing this movie are like, yeah, the animation style is kind of weird. It takes a second to kind of click. I did not have that problem at all. It was, we're living in Miles and Peter B. Parker's and Peter Parker's and Gwen Stacy's world, and then these other characters get added in, and they just bring their own unique twist to it. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was very, very interesting, and it is a challenge to animate those different styles and all and make them cohesive. And I think they did a great job.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it even comes in play in the battle when Spider-Ham is like bust out like a mallet or an anvil out of nowhere.
Pulls out a bowling ball out of his back pocket and throws it at someone. Like it's that craziness. But then you also have all this like 3D motion going on around it. It's really just
and
just juxtaposition.
Yes, and we were talking about this how the collider, that whole battle is so trippy because it's meshing all these alternate universes together. So it's almost like an acid trip while they're battling.
And so it's. But the thing that I liked about it is that it didn't
overwhelm you.
It didn't overwhelm you, and the background, what was going on, didn't take away from the main story and the battle itself. Mm-hmm. It just enhanced it and was like, hey guys, we gotta get going because these worlds are like coming together, and we do not need to be like the Beatles right now. Yeah. So let's go.
Yeah, the cinematography was amazing. They use comic book style when he starts talking.
Yep.
He starts listening to the voice in his head. They use like comic pop-ups.
Brilliant. So good.
Yeah, it's amazing all the different styles and tributes that they did all along, including one to Stan Lee. May he rest in peace.
We have one more cameo of his.
Really?
Yeah,
That's it?
I think
Endgame?
Endgame.
That's it?
They filmed his last one before he passed away.
Oh.
So we have one more, and I will be crying during that movie.
Oh, you know it.
Can't wait.
You know it.
Can't wait. But that's a couple months away.
Yeah.
So we have Captain Marvel first. Anyway, so yeah, that is our in-depth review.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna take it to
The scores.
the scorecard, the report card, as is. So we give each of these categories a rating from 1 to 10. Add them all up, take it out of 100, and give it a letter. For those of you who haven't joined us before.
Yeah.
So we got plot. I give it a 9.
I give it a 9.
Cast. I give it a 9.
I give it a 10.
Continuity and immersion. I give it a 9.
I give it a 9.
Soundtrack. I give it a 10.
10.
And cinematography. I gave it a 10.
I give it a 10. That means 10.
That's a 90. That's a 95, which is an A.
It's
Absolutely.
Yeah, go watch it. I think it's my top contender for best animated.
I think they will win the Oscar. They won the Golden Globe, and it's just
They deserve it.
the category is really, really tight, but it just.
Yeah, this one movie that I'm forgetting that's also really good. I know there's
There's
four that I've seen. That
Don't
are
worry,
amazing.
we will review them.
Yes,
and
we will.
We'll get back to you. Yeah, we got a busy season coming up. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you thought about this movie down in the comments below. Give us a like, hit that subscribe button. We're approaching 10,000 subscribers right now, which is crazy to us. We've been we're almost at our year anniversary.
Oh wow, we almost
our
started in March last year, right?
February.
February.
End of February last year. We started our first review was Black Panther, which is up for a Best Picture nomination. So if you
So, oh my god, so we already did Black Panther?
So we already did Black Panther. We are ahead of the game right now. So go check out that review. I'll have our producer Steven put a card up in the top right-hand corner. It's left for us because, cameras. It's going to be right here. Go check that out. So we have 2 of them done out of 10?
That's a lot more than 10.
We got some work to do. But thank you so much for watching. And as always,
stay ordinary.